UFC President Dana White has given his initial thought on arranging fight between Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett for UFC 296, where a lot of MMA fans are criticizing this matchup as an easy matchup for Paddy Pimblett and an easy path to maintain his stardom. Let me share you some stats with you. It's pretty ironic that Paddy Pimblett had 6 consecutive win streak, while on other hand Tony Ferguson has suffered 6 consecutive losses. This situation seems unfair to Tony.
I agree with you because I think a lot of people think that Paddy is unproven, and I think a lot of people feel like this is a fight that Tony isn't in deep water like he's been in his last several fights. I think the matchmaking and the timing on this fight is excellent and couldn't be more perfect. You know, if you look at Tony's last few fights that he's fought, he looked damn good before, you know, the Chandler finish.
UFC President Dana White also thinks that this is the last chance for Tony Ferguson. If he loses against Paddy Pimblett, this is it.
Yeah, I mean, I would let Tony make that decision, but I'm sure if he loses to Paddy, he would probably look at calling it. He's had a great career, done a lot of things, had a lot of big fights, and probably be a wrap for him.
Former UFC heavyweight fighter Mark Hunt's long legal battle against UFC Dana White and Brock Lesnar finally come to the end. After 7 years of long battle, US District Judge Jennifer A. Dorsey has now ruled that Mark Hunt has failed to provide sufficient evidence for his case. Mark Hunt alleged that Brock Lesnar, who was his opponent in the fight, has used his performance-enhancing drug leading up to the bout. Hunt claims that this constituted battery because Lesnar PED use gave him an unfair advantage and poses a risk to Hunt's health and safety. Hunt also accused the UFC and its president Dana White of fraud. He claims that they knowingly allowed Lesnar to compete in the fight despite having prior knowledge of the Lesnar history of doping violation. Mark Hunt thought the UFC and Dana White didn't tell the truth about the fight and didn't punish Lesnar enough for breaking the drug rules. Mr. Dana White was asked about the situation and he replied, Mark Hunt is delusional.
I mean, it's never been. Listen, Mark Hunt he's lost so many lawsuits against us, it's insane. He's a bit of a delusional guy. He's going to have to pay some legal fees.
Dillon Danis is constantly making headlines on combat sport media or even non-combat sport media before his fight against Logan Paul. A video floating on the surface where Dillon Danis is training with former middleweight champion and multiple-time kickboxing world champion Alex Pereira. Showtime Sport President Stephen Espinoza took a shot at UFC while flaunting recent success of boxing. For your information, from April there have been 2 boxing events that have generated 20 million USD from ticket sales. The sum of the amount that generated from ticket sales, usually people call it gates. Gervonta Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia, that boxing event sold 1.2 million of pay-per-view and 22.8 millions of gate. Similarly, Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, this boxing event sold around 700,000 pay-per-view and 21 million of gates. On other hand, UFC's biggest gate is Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez, which generated 17.7 million US dollar in Madison Square Garden. So now Showtime Sport President Espinoza taunting the UFC.
The event on Saturday night will generate a gate of over $20 million. That's a rare feat in combat sports. It's rare in concerts or events of any kind. But this will be the 3rd time in the last 6 months that we've done a gate of $20 million. Again, our 3rd $20 million gate in the last 6 months. To put that in perspective, UFC has never done a gate of $20 million in its entire history. We've done it 3 times since April.
He has mentioned 3rd time 20 million gate generator is fight Canelo Alvarez versus Jermall Charlo, which isn't happened yet. On the response of Espinoza, Dana White replied like this.
Fuck Espinoza, and it's about time that shitty product is off the air.